How to Think in English.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the English Edge. I'm Emily.
And I'm Brian. We're really excited to talk about something important today. How to think in English.
That's right. Many English learners say, I translate everything in my head before I speak. It's a common habit, but it can slow down your speaking and make conversations harder.
Yes. It can be a big challenge for many people learning English. But don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll have some great tips to help train your mind to think in English without translating.
And we'll even play a fun game to help you practice easily.
Awesome. Before we continue, just a quick reminder. Don't forget to download the PDF of today's podcast. You'll find the link in the description of the video.
Yes, it's a great way to follow along, review key points, and practice the vocabulary we discussed today. Now let's get started.
So, Emily, why do you think it's important to think in English? Why not just translate everything?
Well, when we translate in our heads, it takes more time. For example, when you want to say something, you first think in your language, then translate, and finally speak in English. This process is slow and can make you feel less confident.
That's true. And when you translate, sometimes it's difficult to get the right expression. The words might not sound natural, but if you start thinking in English, it helps you connect English words with ideas, not translations.
Exactly. When you connect words with ideas, you can speak more quickly. Your brain starts to learn new words and ideas faster.
Okay, so how do we do that? How can we start thinking in English?
Good question. The first step is to start with simple thoughts. For example, when you wake up in the morning, try describing what you are doing in English.
Like, I am getting out of bed. I feel sleepy. I need coffee. Simple sentences like that?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just start small. For example, when I'm walking to work, I think, it's a nice day, or I'm feeling good. Simple thoughts like these help me practice English without translating.
That makes sense. And the more we practice, the easier it gets. Another great way is to name things around you in English. When you see a chair, think chair. When you see a window, think window.
Right. And if you take it a step further, try describing things in English. For example, when you're cooking, think, I need salt, or the soup is too hot. Describing things around you in English helps train your brain.
Oh, I like that. It helps us build our vocabulary naturally. What about speaking? How can we practice thinking in English when we talk?
Great question. One trick is to use English when making decisions. For example, if you're at a restaurant, instead of thinking in your native language, try asking yourself in English, what should I eat? Maybe I'll order a salad.
Oh, so it's like having a small conversation in my mind?
Exactly. It's all about making English a part of your daily thinking process. And speaking of practice, another great tip is to talk to yourself in English. It may feel funny at first, but it really helps.
That sounds funny, but I guess it's useful. For example, when I wake up, I might say to myself, today I'm going to work. After work, I'll go to the gym.
That's a great example. Talking to yourself helps create a natural flow of thinking in English. And another thing that helps is writing in English. You don't have to write long stories. Just simple things like shopping lists, messages to your family, or even a diary.
Yes. I also write little reminders to myself in English. For example, I might write, buy milk, or call Emily. Writing helps me think in English more actively, and it's a great way to complement speaking.
Exactly. Writing in English creates a real environment for you to practice. And don't forget, listening is also important. Surround yourself with English by watching English movies, listening to podcasts, and even listening to songs in English.
That's true. The more I hear English, the more natural it feels to think in English. And if you're just starting, don't worry if it's slow at first. Start small and build up. For example, start with words, then simple sentences, and after that, try making longer sentences. Over time, you'll start thinking in full sentences without needing to translate.
Yes, that's a great point. Don't rush. Start small and build your way up. So to recap, surround yourself with English. Start small, talk to yourself in English, write in English, and describe things in English. These are all simple ways to practice and improve your ability to think in English.
And remember, practice makes perfect. Don't worry if it's difficult at first. Just keep trying, and it will get easier. Now, let's have some fun with a little game to help us practice.
All right, now it's time for a game. We're going to play a sentence-building game. I'll give Brian a simple word, and he'll make a short sentence. Then I'll try to make it longer. You can play along too.
Sounds fun. Let's start. Think about dog.
Okay, here's my short sentence. The dog is running.
Nice. Now I'll make it longer. The big brown dog is running in the park.
Great. Next word, food.
Okay, I'll start with, I'm eating food.
I'll make it longer. I'm eating delicious food at my favorite restaurant.
Awesome. How did you do, everyone? The goal of this game is to practice thinking in English. Don't worry if it's difficult at first. Just keep practicing, and it will get easier over time.
Now, let's go over some important words we use today. These words will help you understand the topic better.
Common, meaning something that happens often or is usual. Example, it's common for people to feel nervous when speaking a new language.
Challenge, meaning a difficult task or problem that requires effort to overcome. Example, learning a new language can be a real challenge.
Train, meaning to teach or practice a skill to improve performance. Example, you can train your mind to think in English.
Mind, meaning the part of a person that thinks, reasons, and feels. Example, you need to focus your mind on learning new vocabulary.
Reminder, meaning a message or note that helps you remember something. Example, a reminder to review your notes can be helpful before the exam.
Connect, meaning to join or link things together. Example, it's important to connect new vocabulary with your own experiences.
Thought, meaning idea, opinion, or feeling that is in your mind. Example, write down your thoughts to better organize them.
Complicated, meaning something that is difficult to understand or involves many parts. Example, the instructions were too complicated, so I needed help.
Further, meaning to a greater degree or more advanced stage. Example, we'll discuss this topic further in the next lesson.
Trick, meaning a clever or deceptive way of doing something, often to make it easier. Example, A useful trick for memorizing vocabulary is to use flashcards.
Decision. Meaning. A choice made after thinking about different options. Example. Making decision quickly can be important in a conversation.
Instead of meaning in place of something else. Example. You can practice speaking instead of just reading.
Flow. Meaning. The smooth and continuous movement or progress of something. Example. If you practice every day, your speaking flow will improve.
Complement. Meaning, something that completes or enhances something else. Example. Good listening skills complement your speaking skills.
Environment. Meaning, the surroundings or conditions in which a person operates. Example. A quiet environment can help you concentrate while learning.
Surround. Meaning, to be all around something or someone. Example. Surround yourself with English speakers to improve faster.
Recap. Meaning, to summarize or review the main points of something. Example. Let's recap the main points from today's lesson.
Ability. Meaning, the skill or power to do something. Example. With enough practice, you can improve your ability to speak English.
Expression. Meaning, a way of showing thoughts or feelings, often through words or body language. Example. Facial expressions can tell a lot about how someone feels.
Process. Meaning, a series of actions or steps taken to achieve a particular goal. Example. Speaking English fluently is a long process that takes time.
So, to sum up today's podcast, thinking in English takes practice, but it can really help you speak more confidently and quickly. Remember to focus, practice daily, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly! And remember, the more you connect new words with real ideas, the easier it will become. So don't worry about translating. Just start thinking in English.
Great advice, Emily. And one more tip. If you feel stuck, take a break, relax, and try again. Learning a language is a process, and you're doing great.
Thank you so much for listening to The English Edge. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fun and useful tips. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye, and keep practicing your English.